there are two key passages in the text that will talk about a figure who falls from heaven, a figure who falls from the high place, from the glory of God, from the temple of God. And oftentimes commentators will draw a connection between these passages and what we're looking at in Genesis chapter 3, okay? So we're going to read these. These passages are about human kings in their context, okay? The question is, what is the Hebrew writer using to bring an analogy between these human kings and some other figure, obviously, because what is being described of these human kings is not what these human kings experienced and lived in their lives. It's like if I was speaking to Bob and I was talking to him about his life, but as though he was someone else, and I'm drawing a connection between his life and someone else's life. Okay, so let's get into that passage, the first of them. Isaiah chapter 14. Are you guys ready? How you are fallen from heaven, O day star, son of the dawn. How you are cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven above the stars of God. I will set my throne on high. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the far reaches of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to Sheol, to the far reaches of the pit. So this is actually where we get the word Lucifer from, okay? It's just a Latin term for morning star. So in the Latin translation of the Bible is where you find Lucifer. You won't find Lucifer necessarily in the Bible. You will find morning star or day star, son of the dawn, right? Does that make sense? So this passage is, let me ask you this, is in this text, the serpent being described as a star then? If we're drawing these connections, is the serpent a star? Yes. Okay. So what did we say about spiritual beings? What are spiritual beings or the heavenly host? And how are they connected, right? So the heavens, this is Psalm 89. The heavens praise your wonders, Lord, your faithfulness too in the assembly of the holy ones. For who in the skies above can compare with the Lord, who is like the Lord among the heavenly beings? In the council of the holy ones, God is greatly feared. So the idea of these beings in the skies, right? Job 38, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth, when the morning stars sang together and all the heavenly beings shouted for joy? Yeah, heavenly beings, morning stars. You get singing morning stars. Think about that. What was happening in Isaiah chapter 6? Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Okay, heavenly choirs associated with stars. So when you think about the seraphim, you should be thinking also about what? Morning stars, right? When you think about the seraphim, you should be thinking about serpents. Okay? Are you following? And when you are in Genesis chapter 3, there's a serpent there who is in the temple.
So it says when all the morning stars sang together, does that mean, you said morning stars means Lucifer, so when all the Lucifers sang together?
Right, exactly. Yeah, so in the Latin, that's just Lucifer is just the Latin translation. But yeah, the idea here is the stars of the morning, yes, when they sang for joy, right? But they're heavenly beings, they're angels, right? And so do you guys see the connections here? You have in Isaiah 6, heavenly beings that are described as serpents with wings, singing praises to the Most High, right? In Isaiah 14, you have the morning star who is fallen from heaven. In Job 38, you have the morning stars who are singing, the heavenly beings that are singing. And in Genesis chapter 3, on the temple on earth, you have a serpent figure tempting the woman. Okay?
So, is it far off to assume that in the garden there was multiple serpents?
Mm-hmm.
One was the one that tempted.
Exactly.
Maybe that's why she went willingly, because she was used to the serpent.
There you go. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. So you're understanding what we're trying to get at. Why is the serpent talking? Why is Eve not, oh, a serpent is talking, right? Why is it presented as though this is to be expected, right? That this is a normal thing that Eve is communing with angelic beings.
And this is the one that just used his, for lack of a better term, power.
Yeah, no, that's the right term, I would say. Used what God gave him and his role to subvert the plan of God. Okay, so I'll skip over this, but just remember that in ancient cultures, the stars, they are connected. They have symbolic connection with heavenly creatures, right? So again, that's why the morning star language. Okay, and then here's the second text. Okay, here's the second text from Ezekiel 28. Again, talking about a human being. This is a prophecy against the king of Tyre, but there's a connection being drawn between this king, this human king, and some figure from the ancient past. So here we go. Ezekiel 28. You were the signet of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering. Sardius, topaz, and diamond, beryl, onyx, and jasper, sapphire, emerald, and carbuncle. And crafted in gold were your settings and your engravings. On the day you were created, they were prepared. You were an anointed guardian cherub. I placed you. You were on the holy mountain of God. In the midst of the stones of fire, you walked. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created, till unrighteousness was found in you. In the abundance of your trade, you were filled with violence in your midst, and you sinned. So I cast you as a profane thing from the mountain of God, and I destroyed you, O guardian cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I cast you to the ground. I exposed you before kings to feast their eyes on you. By the multitude of your iniquities, in the unrighteousness of your trade, you profaned your sanctuaries. So I brought fire out from your midst. It consumed you, and I turned you to ashes on the earth in the sight of all who saw you. All who know you among the peoples are appalled at you. You have come to a dreadful end and shall be no more forever. So here the word cherub is used. Cherub and seraph, they're technically the same kind of being. They're both throne guardians. One is seraph is normally described in a Egyptian context. Cherub is normally described in a Babylonian, Assyrian context. But they both serve as throne guardian beings. Okay. Here's the main point that we're trying to get at. The serpent is representing a creature on the earth in the garden, but has connections to a spiritual being, right? That is otherwise associated with as a spiritual being throughout the text. You see what I'm saying? Morning star, a cherub, seraphim are said to be these serpents that fly around in the heavenly throne room. Okay? Does that make sense?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I want to hear your take on this.
Mhm.
Why tempt Eve?
Yeah, so we're gonna we've been talking about the serpent for so long, we haven't even gotten to the rest, so we're about to get into that. Okay? All right, so just Revelation chapter 20. I saw an angel coming down from heaven. In his hand he held the key to the abyss and a large chain. He grabbed hold of the dragon, the ancient serpent, who is the devil and Satan, right? So this is that passage where later you might hear the question or ask the question yourself, at what point do we actually draw a definitive connection? Not all of this speculation, but a definitive connection between Satan, the Satan figure that's spoken of in the New Testament, and this serpent figure. It would be here in Revelation.